The third episode of Raw in the Netflix era is here, and we're starting to fit into a groove a little bit where you can sort of start to see some patterns emerge from the two episodes we've had, excluding the debut episode, which was just sort of a little wonky. And I'm excited because the trends that I'm seeing in terms of the way matches build over the course of the cards, the way promos are laid out, and the way stars are incorporated into the show is very good. It makes for very good TV viewing. And while every match might not be great in a vacuum, and some segments might not be great on their own, you know they are part of an overarching story and they are leading to branches elsewhere that'll be followed up on future Raws or on SmackDown or on pay-per-views going forward. And there was a lot to like on this Raw. I don't think independently there was too much stuff that you would call great outside of one absolutely incredible promo interaction and a really, really good main event. There wasn't anything individually to love, but as a package, it is just further pushing the idea that you should be excited about WWE leading up to the Royal Rumble. What we're going to do in this video is go segment by segment, match by match. I'm going to tell you what happened, give my overall thoughts on them, discuss where I think they're leading in the future, and giving my review for the show as a whole. If you guys like this video, please consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment, as it really does help a new channel like mine out. But with all of that being said, let's go ahead and get into it with our first promo of the night. So we start with Jey Uso coming to the ring, very hot entrance, high-fiving kids in the crowd. Michael Cole's dancing like a fool in front of the commentary desk. A very hot, fun entrance to start the night off, and he's interrupted almost immediately by Gunther, who comes down to the ring and says, "Jey, your words don't line up with your actions. You say you are the main event, but every time Roman whistles, you run off to fight by his side. Anytime Sami snaps his fingers, you're there to back him up. You're too busy fighting other people's fights, and you're not concerned enough about fighting your own. You always talk a big game, but the majority of the time you are just a lackey dork, and you don't even deserve to sniff this world title, which is exactly why I'm going to beat you at Saturday night's main event." And Jey comes back with what is honestly a pretty weak response. He says, "You're going to put some respect on my name because out of the two of us, only one has main evented WrestleMania, and it ain't you." Gunther had just this awesome promo where he was really tearing down a lot of the different aspects of Jey Uso as a wrestler. But the important thing about the promo was he wasn't saying Jey was a loser because of a lack of ability or a lack of talent or because he couldn't get it done in the ring. He is a loser in the eyes of Gunther because he is focused on the wrong things, because he's not focused on winning a world championship, and he's so wrapped up in this bloodline saga that he can't focus on his singles career. It's a super unique way to tell the story for two reasons. One, it allows Gunther to look down on Jey Uso without the audience seeing Jey as a loser or without diminishing Jey's star power in the eyes of the fans. So when they get to Saturday night's main event, they'll be able to have a match where Gunther dominates early and Jey is able to come back and surprise him towards the end of the match, which is probably the most ideal build for that match. And also, it mirrors the story being told by Sami Zayn on Monday Night Raw, where he is also trying to establish himself as a single star after finishing up with the bloodline. So it invites the possibility for those two storylines to match up in the future and for them to potentially cross paths, either as teammates, but more likely as enemies, saying, you know, we're friends. I love you. You're like a brother to me, but we're on our singles career, so we have to fight and we're both going to try to win. So I thought it was an excellent way to start the show. I thought that Gunther's promo was incredible. Jay's response was, I think, purposefully weak, and it's one of those promos where you can just see all the branches going out in the next 3 to 6 to 12 months, and you're just wondering, oh, how will this little dig affect Uso's character going forward, or how will he be able to come back on Saturday night's main event? And all those permutations are circulating in the heads of the fans. And that's exactly what you should be doing through a promo and a feud like this, where you know Jay isn't going to win, but this is a stepping stone on his story in 2025. So accomplished all the goals it needed to, and it was a lot of fun along the way. Fantastic promo to open the show. The New Day are walking backstage and they run into JBL. They are trying to essentially trick him into supporting Kofi in the next match and being out by ringside to help them win. And JBL says that he gets what they did with Big E because Big E's stronger and more talented and nicer and funnier and better looking, and the crowd loves him. So JBL gets why the New Day did what they did. And it was a really cute backstage interaction because JBL, both in kayfabe and in real life, is just an awful person and someone who's so easy to hate. So even him looking down on the New Day is just, it's one of those touches that really shows this era, why this era of WWE booking is so great, because they focus on the big grand storytelling plans as well as the small details. We get a backstage vignette for Bayley. She's officially on Raw. She is in the Rumble. She says she wants to be the first woman in history to go back to back winning the Royal Rumble. And she announces she's fighting Nia Jax later. Then we get the New Day coming to the ring. Kofi is set to have a match with Rey Mysterio. They're coming out. They demand their entrance and their music and their Tron to be cut, which is a nice touch, because it's a very happy, uplifting song that fans really love. So them demanding that it be cut so fans can't listen to it is a good way to generate heat. They say they're future Hall of Famers, and they are just cutting promos on all the fans, as well as JBL, who's sitting ringside, and really drumming up some heat for the match, which was nice. The match itself was really about as basic and as mid as TV matches can go. It was just all of the guys hitting their signature moves, but in a pretty messy fashion. Like, this was a pretty sloppy match for two guys who have been going as long as Kofi and Ray have. I don't really have a lot to say on the action. It is a 3-star match, just like the most basic. A lot of wrestling happens in front of you. They told a very basic, very technically sound story, but nothing really exciting. Afterwards, Ray won, which was super weird. It was not the result I was expecting. I really expected Kofi to get a win, especially since they were in Ray's hometown, and sort of get a lot of heat and get the New Day off on the right foot, because they really haven't had a launching pad yet for their in-ring action. They've had a lot of backstage segments, but in terms of in-ring, there hasn't been anything up to this point. So you'd think the New Day would get that win. So that result didn't make sense. And then afterwards, they try to beat down Ray, but the LWO interrupts. And I guess that means they're building to New Day versus LWO, but that seems like a step backwards from where we are. Rey Mysterio is such a bigger opponent than the LWO, and the New Day getting a big win over him would not only cement themselves as a threat to be taken seriously on the roster, but also defeating one of the most beloved baby faces in all of the companies is a great way to get heat in his hometown, no less. So I did not understand this result at all. It was a mid-match with a really weird result. I'm not looking forward to the match between New Day and LWO. I think it'll be a lower card feud that won't be very good. I just think it's been bad booking for the New Day so far since their heel turn on Big E. I don't think they've done anything of substance, and this was just sort of filler for a 3-hour show. It doesn't match the hype that surrounded the turn on Big E. Like this is not a follow-up. If you watch these two segments in isolation, there's no way they would be connected, because the heat for the Big E breakup was so much greater than the heat for this match. It's just a terrible follow-up. We're backstage and Chad Gable is berating American Made. He said he's been having trouble facing luchadors recently, so he wants to go to a guy who has experience beating up luchadors, which is Dominic Mysterio. Awesome. I love the idea of someone going to Dominic Mysterio for advice for beating up a luchador. It's funny both in a kayfabe sense and in a meta sense when you think Dominic is sort of a loser and Chad Gable is sort of a badass, so why is he going for him? The Creed say they're setting their sights on Tag Gold, and Ivy Nile says she is setting her sights on the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Great. Two things I would love to see happen. I would love to see Chad pushed into a singles title picture, Ivy pushed into a title picture, and the Creed brothers pushed into a tag title picture. So I love it all around. For this next part, I'm going to probably be looking down here a little bit because there's a lot of notes I have for this next segment, and I want to get everything right and make sure I don't miss anything. So apologies if I'm not eyeballing you directly in the camera. Because Sami Zayn was out next. He announces he's in the Rumble, and he talks about what Seth said last week, how he should start helping himself and stop being concerned with what the bloodline was going on. And he asks, what does Sami want? What do I want? He considers himself in the upper echelon of superstars. People throw names like Roman Reigns, like Drew McIntyre, like Seth Rollins, like Cody Rhodes. They throw those names around, and Sami feels he is of the star power and of the in-ring capabilities to be with those people, which is absolutely true, by the way. He says, though, the one thing differentiating him from them is he's never won the Royal Rumble and therefore never been able to go and fight for a singles title in the main event of Mania. And that is what he wants to do. He doesn't need it. He's accomplished everything he could possibly want in life. He is a WWE superstar. He has a family, a beautiful family who he's able to take care of. He has everything he's ever dreamed of. But damn it, does he want it? He wants to win the Rumble. He wants to get that world title, and he will take it. Fantastic promo from Sami Zayn. Something that really fired me up to want to see Sami Zayn win the Rumble. I've thought for a while that it was Punk's to win, but Sami did a really good job here about convincing me when he's in there, people are going to be behind him. And on the night, I can guarantee I'm going to be rooting for Sami Zayn to win the Rumble. He's interrupted afterwards by Kevin Owens. There was an audible wow from the audience when Kevin went out, and they went, oh my God, it's finally happening. Kevin Owens, this heel Kevin Owens, and the biggest babyface on the earth, Sami Zayn, they're finally coming together. It was sort of out of nowhere because they've been teasing it for weeks and weeks and weeks, and it just seems like it might have happened after the Cody Rhodes feud. But what he said absolutely justified him coming out here. Sami said, I knew it was a matter of time before you came, so how's it going to go down? I saw what you did to Cody for teaming with Roman at the pay-per-view, so imagine what you're going to do to me, the guy who helped him get his tribal chief status back. But Kevin said, I get it. You forgave Roman because that's what you do. You forgive people. I've done horrible stuff to you in the past, and you've forgiven me. You're my best friend. You're more than my best friend. You're my brother, so I'm not upset for you helping Roman. I get it. Everything we've done together. We won tag titles in the main event of WrestleMania. We've done everything that there is to do together except for one thing, and that is fight for the World Championship in the main event of WrestleMania. How can we do that, Sami? How can we make that dream a possibility? Well, at the Royal Rumble, I'm fighting for a world title. You're in the Rumble. You help me out. I help you out. You help me beat Cody. I help you win the Rumble. And they don't really say whether it's firm or not. Sami doesn't give an answer. It's just sort of Kevin saying, I know you'll have my back. I know you'll do the right thing. And leaving the ring and leaving Sami there a little bit ponderous, a little bit wondering what he's going to do. This was an absolutely incredible segment of TV. This was the best thing WWE has done all year. Let's go over why it was great. It was an absolute roller coaster of emotions because, as I said, the Sami promo really made you enthused to see him win the Rumble. And then Kevin came out and he was heaping praise on Sami, saying, I know you can do it. I know you can win the Rumble because you're that good, because you're as good as you say you are. You're as good as Cody and Roman and Drew and Seth and all of those guys. I know you are, so I know you can win. And it just sort of went, yeah, Sami can win. Sami can. And then Kevin started talking about how they were going to have this partnership, how they were going to come together. Sami was going to help him win the world title, and he was going to help him win the Royal Rumble. And then that feeling sort of sunk in my stomach, and I went, oh no, Sami's not going to help Kevin win, and Kevin is going to kill Sami. Because Sami always does the right thing, and helping Kevin Owens fulfill this idea of being WWE Championship, being the WWE champion in this time when he's attacking people, pile driving people, putting them out of business. That is not something Sami Zayn will do. And Kevin is not going to understand that. He's going to take it as a slight against their friendship. And he is going to attack Sami as a result, potentially costing him the Royal Rumble match. That's at least where I predict it was going. Those were my immediate thoughts as this promo was going on. And now there's two branches that this story could go down. It could go that way where they fall out, or they could come together and Sami could maybe, if even inadvertently, help Kevin win the WWE Championship and then maybe win the Rumble or maybe win the Chamber afterwards to set up a match with Kevin Owens. I'm not sure, but I'm so excited to see what happens. And there's this thing with wrestling where a lot of times you can be pretty sure what is going to happen. Like, I'm pretty sure Sami Zayn is not going to help Kevin Owens, and then Kevin Owens is going to snap and attack Sami Zayn. I'm pretty sure that's going to happen. But it's all about how and when it happens. How do they pull it off to make me feel emotions, to surprise me, to add these little storytelling beats that even I couldn't expect them to add? That is what you have to look forward to. You can probably predict where the story's going, but how they're going to get there, the journey they're going to take you on over the next couple months is going to be so exciting. This was an absolutely outstanding piece of TV. I thought it was absolute perfection, and it made me even more that excited to watch the Royal Rumble. The Rumble is building up to be an absolute banger of a pay-per-view this year, except for the women's match. But other than that, it's going to be an absolute banger of a pay-per-view. And this was probably now the thing that I'm most excited for, to see on the night what's going to happen between Sami and Kevin. Then we move into Nia Jax versus Bayley, which was better than Kofi versus Ray, but not by much. It was very sloppy and poorly worked from two women who are regularly presented as pillars of the WWE women's division. I don't think Nia Jax is a good worker at all. I think Bayley is super overrated, and I didn't think highly of this match. They did have one really good near fall at the end, but pretty much every other move in this match was a little bit misplaced or weak. I give it 3.25 stars. Nothing to go out of your way to see. Afterwards, Rhea and Nia have a pull-apart brawl. That is better than the action in the match. It was a pretty hot brawl, and the crowd was hot for it, and it was a good angle that will lead to ultimately a bad match at Saturday night's main event. They had a match at Elimination Chamber this year in Rhea's hometown, or sorry, last year at the Elimination Chamber. It was in Rhea's home country, and you're not going to get hotter than that. And really, the action's not going to get better than that. So this is a feud that, as soon as I saw Nia and Rhea on the screen together, I was not excited for. And it's not going to be a good match. And it's going to get 9 minutes at main event. It's just going to be bad. We go backstage and we see Chad Gable talking with the Judgment Day, specifically Dominic Mysterio, asking him for help with luchadors, and Dominic gives him a name or a number of someone who will be able to help Chad Gable. An interesting little development. I'm excited to see where it goes. There's a title match next week for the tag titles. Finn won't be available though, so Dom will replace him. It'll be JD McDonough and Dominic Mysterio against War Machine. They're gonna get killed. And Liv says she's not pissed at Dom, but she clearly is. It's a fun story, as I've said in the past, Liv being upset at Dom, but not really expressing it. But it's very, very mid-card. And for Liv coming off of her world title run, immediately sinking back down into this position, it's not something I love seeing. So Sammy's walking backstage, and he finds Seth. He thanks Seth for the pep talk later this week, and Seth says, yeah, I saw what you said out there, and I agree with everything you're doing. I agree with what you're saying, but just know, when we get in the Rumble together, I will not hesitate to throw you over the top rope. And Sami says, hey, that's what it's about. Likewise, buddy. And they go their separate ways. Fun little vignette. Next up, we had another match. It was Penta versus Pete Dunne. And this match, in my mind, was superior than the Chad Gable match in terms of work rate, but inferior in terms of match layout and agenting. I thought that Penta in the Gable match sort of showed a little bit of ring rust where a lot of the stuff he was doing was sloppy. There was a few noticeable botches in there. A lot of the kicks he hit were not on point. You could see they were like miles away. And all of that ring rust, thankfully, has been shed in this match because everything he did looked really on point. It didn't get as much time as the Chad match did last week, and really there just wasn't as much to it. There wasn't much excitement because, oh my God, Penta is here. And it was just sort of a more simpler TV match. So those two things, the better work rate but the worse layout, sort of even out, and it's going to get the same rating it got as the Chad Gable match, that being 3.75 stars. I am going to put Pete Dunne over here because his selling was absolutely incredible. He really looked like he was in pain when Penta did a power bomb onto a knee. He was selling his back like crazy. When Penta snapped the arms, he sold that incredibly, and the Penta driver. Everything he took in this match looked absolutely phenomenal. And the purpose of this match was to establish Penta as the Raw TV wrestler, the guy who's going to put on great matches every single week. And while I don't think this was a great match, it was very, very good and went a long way to establishing Penta as someone who is here to stay and someone who the fans should get excited for every time his music plays. We get a Logan Paul vignette next. In a previous vignette, he said he was all in on wrestling. No more side projects, no more side hustles. But he hasn't been seen in WWE since then, so that's obviously a lie. But we are getting the first Logan Paul match next week of 2025, so we can be excited about that. Punk cut a really weird promo next. He was in the crowd versus in the ring, which was a cool visual. I like, just seeing many different layouts, many different areas of the arena in this kind of stuff. And he says he is going to win the Royal Rumble because he makes history. That's what he does. He main evented the first Raw on Netflix and made history. And he goes over some of the other people in the match. He says Cena won't be able to see him, throw him out. Roman needed help just sort of setting out his family business, and Punk was able to do that for him. Drew is gone and buried, and he just beat Seth, and Sami is not on his level. Hell, he'll even throw Hogan's dusty ass over the ring and kill Hulkamania. He'll cash in the favor if necessary, and he'll do whatever it takes to win the Rumble. And that little piece was probably the most intriguing part, saying he might cash in the favor at the Rumble to potentially have some way to influence it. And if I had a tinfoil hat, I'd put it on right now because I have a conspiracy theory. And this isn't going to happen. I acknowledge this is a stupid thing to say right out of the bat. This would never happen. Punk hates this guy. The company doesn't like this guy. The fans hate him. So there's no way that this would ever happen. But at the end of the promo, Punk was sort of hyping up the crowd and doing this to really get the crowd going. And it looked to me a lot like the arm movements that Ryback used to do to hype up the crowd. Now, in no world would it make sense for Ryback to come and help CM Punk. They hate each other in real life. Ryback just doesn't fit in WWE. But I saw it, and my brain went, ooh, they have history together. What if? Not going to happen. We then get Io Sky and Dakota Kai taking on Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks. And there is no bigger chasm between talent in the ring and sheer lack of heat due to an unfocus in booking than with the Pure Fusion Collective. Shayna Baszler and Zoe Starks are absolutely incredible in the ring, but they just don't get anything, and the crowd doesn't believe in them as a result. And this match was a textbook example of maximizing your minutes. They didn't have a lot of time, probably around 5 minutes, but they managed to fit a lot of action into that time. But the crowd was pretty dead for it because there's no story behind here. This is not a division that's getting a lot of love and two acts that aren't really being focused on. So not a lot of conviction from the booking for the fans to get behind, and the match suffered as a result. 3.25 out of 5 stars. We then get some match graphics for Saturday night's main event, and we see that Braun Strowman is taking on Jacob Fatu in a singles match. WWE, take my money. However much I need to pay to see that match, I will do so. It looks incredible. Then we're on to our main event, Drew McIntyre versus Seth Rollins in what was a great match, really. Seth, I don't really rate as a worker. He's a little bit slow in a lot of things, and a lot of his things seem unrealistic, wouldn't actually hurt the other guy, but he has been in the two best WWE matches of the year up to this point, both this match and his match with Punk. They both get 4.25 stars. Spoiler, I gave this match 4.25 stars because I thought it was really good. Drew in this match was really on point. Everything he hit looked really impactful and effective, and it sort of worked to counteract some of the slowness that Seth had. It was just a lot of great back and forth with a lot of awesome moves. And Seth, in particular, to his credit, was throwing out a lot of really interesting stuff we don't normally see from him in this match. Some really cool springboard moves, some flying knees, a lot of really, really good stuff from Seth. Both guys deviated from their normal move sets to make the match a little bit more unique and interesting. And this was another match that really set the main events for Monday Night Raw high. We got a great match with Seth versus Punk on the first Raw, a very, very good match with Damian and Finn last week, and then another great Seth match, this time facing Drew. Sorry. So there is like sort of this 4-star floor for Raw main events now, where if anything falls below that, it'll seem like a huge disappointment. And you can be pretty sure you're not going to be getting a lot of great action at other parts in the card, but you will be getting great stuff from the main event. I hope you guys still have your tinfoil hats around because I have another conspiracy theory. Because at a certain point in this match, Drew yelled at Seth, "Your words don't match your actions," which is exactly what Gunther said in the opening segment to Jey Uso. So that that's not like a phrasing that is common. That seems like if they are going to say the exact same thing, it would have to be purposeful. WWE seemed to be implanting the idea in our minds. What if Gunther and Drew were on the same side? What if they were on a team? What if they were in a faction together? And this idea has been tossed around for a while of Drew, Kevin, and Seth being in a new heel faction, and putting Gunther in that as sort of the leader, the top dog in that faction. Absolutely awesome. I would love to see it. Afterwards, Drew tries to attack Seth. Sami comes out for the save, but Drew's able to beat him down too. And the show ends with Sami going to hit a haluva kick on Drew, but missing and accidentally hitting Seth instead, just adding more tension onto their interaction earlier that will lead to the Rumble. I thought it was a great match to end Raw, and overall, a very good episode of Raw. And that was Raw. Like I said in the beginning of the video, not a great episode in isolation, but one that did a very good job about setting up little branches and little breadcrumbs that the audience will be able to follow all the way up to the Royal Rumble. But I want to know what you guys thought. Did you love Kevin Owens and Sami Zayn as much as I did? Did you have your conspiracy theory hats on with me and notice some weird things throughout the show that might lead to big storylines down the line? I want to know. Tell me down in the comments. While you're there, please consider liking and subscribing, as it really does help a new channel like mine to grow. But with all of that being said, I want to thank you guys very much for watching. I have been Isaiah from Hot Tag Wrestling, and I will see you next time.